Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. It is time for another quarterly update and to share with you all of the pans I've hit in the last 3 months, as well as all of the eyeshadows that I finished. This is always a very exciting video for me to make because I get to go through all of my pans and also like all of the accomplishments of finished shadows, which is really difficult. So I'm excited to share all of them with you today. But before I jump into that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So I am going to start off with pans because that's usually what I do, and yeah, I have more of them to share with you than eyeshadows finished. So at the end of quarter 2, I had 36 pans in my collection. So let me start with the 37th pan that I've hit so far this year. And the first pan that I have to share with you comes from Terra Moons. It's actually one of my single shadows, and this is the shade Crimson Eclipse. So it is this beautiful like duochrome, multichrome kind of shadow. It has this really strong kind of magenta shift, as you can see right there, and then it goes into a gold. I think you can see it back here. It also has a couple more shifts to it, but that is the main 2 shifts, and it's so stunning. I love this eyeshadow a lot, and I worked on this one in my Paddles eyeshadows. This one took me 17 uses to hit pan on, so that is the first shade. The second pan that I have comes from my Through My Eyes palette, which was in my product level up. So this palette looks very well loved now. So this is what it looks like. So pan number 38 was the shade Muse, which is this kind of bronzy shade right there, and this one took me 8 times to hit pan on. Then the next pan actually comes right next to it, which is the shade Divina. This one took me 12 times to hit pan on, again in my product level up. So those are the next 2 pans. So the next eyeshadow that I have is from Glam Shop. It's another single, and this is the shade Peukiskovi. I don't know, I can't pronounce it. I'm gonna hold it up so you can read it because I only have the Polish names for this. So this is pan number 40, and looking at it, you might be like, wait, there's no pan in this eyeshadow, and there's not. Because I hit pan on this one in my Paddles eyeshadows. You would have seen it if you followed that project. But this one actually completely shattered in my palette. I stored it away with my singles palettes, and I took this one out to play around with my Glam Shop shades, and this one was just shattered. So I was able to save most of the shadow because it was in my palette and it was closed and everything, so I was able to save everything, and I had to repress it. So that's kind of why you can see as well the eyeshadow is quite low in here, and that is obviously because I already used a bit of eyeshadow when I hit pan. And I also feel like maybe I pressed it a little bit tighter than it was before, just because I didn't want it to shatter again. So unfortunately no more pan in this one, but I did hit pan on it, so I'm still counting it into the pans that I've hit this year. So that is pan number 40. The next couple of pans that I have comes from my Panda palette, which is my Gold Obsessions palette from Huda Beauty. If you don't want any spoilers, I would make sure to check out my Panda palette update, which is the second to last video that I posted. I posted it on the 30th of September, so make sure to check that out first if you don't want any spoilers of what this palette looks like now. But again, the pan number 41 comes from here, and these shades don't have names, and it's just this small shade right here. So it's shade number 6, and this one took 5 uses to pan on. I also realized I forgot to mention, but with the Glam Shop shade it took me 7 times to pan on, by the way. But yeah, for the mauve shade in here it took 5 uses, so that is the next pan. Then for the one after actually as well comes from this palette, and that is this first shade in the palette right here, and this one took me 7 uses to pan on, and that is pan number 42. Pan number 43 is as well from Glam Shop actually. This is another single, and that is the shade Hollow Na Sieplo, which looks like this. You might actually see that there's a little bit of like blue sparkle in here, and that's actually the other shade that I talked about before that exploded. It's ended up a little bit in here, but I'm not too worried about it. But you can see the leftovers right there. This shade right here took me 5 uses to pan on, and this one was as well in my Pandas eyeshadows. For pan number 44, we're moving on to another product level up palette, which is my Aha Honey palette. This one was in for my level 2, so I have 2 pans to share with you, but I'm going to start with one now, which is the middle shade Pelusa, which is actually a pressed glitter. This one was again my pan number 44, and this one took 6 uses to pan on. Then for 45 I actually have my current product level up palette, so again it will be a little bit of spoiler what it looks like at the moment, but this pan did not come from that project. This one was actually in my deck of panning, and the shade that I had pan on was the shade Penthouse, which is this kind of gold sparkly shade, or like, I don't know, it's like a You can see the tone there, but it's such a beautiful one. It's like a topper shade, and this one took me 16 times to pan on in that project. So that is pan number 45. Then we are back to my pan up palette again, and we have 3 pans to share. The first one is pan number 5, which is the center shade. That one took me 4 uses to pan on. Next we have the third shade in the palette, which took me 9 times. And lastly we have the 8th shade, which is the center shade here on the bottom, and that one took me 10 uses to pan on. So those are the next 3, so pan 46, 47 and 48. So for my pan number 49, we have another shade from my Pandos eyeshadows, and that comes from my Jackie Aina palette. The shade I was working on was the shade Sam, which is this beautiful shade down here. And this one took me 7 uses in the project to hit pan. So for pan number 50, which is actually really exciting because I had a goal this year to hit 50 pans, and obviously I have reached that goal, which is very, very exciting. But for pan number 50, we have my Aha Honey palette again, which is again product level up. And the second pan that I hit in here is the shade Buzzkill down in this corner, and this one took me 14 uses to pan on in that project. Moving on, we do have a couple more pans, and pan number 51 comes from my Red Dragon palette from Oden's Eye in collaboration with Judy. In here I was working on another shade in my Pandos eyeshadows, and that is the shade Gin, which is this one right here, and this one took me 16 uses to hit pan on. And for the very final pan that we have for this quarter, we have one from my Wilderness palette from Beauty Bay, and I was working on the shade Twilight, which is this really, really deep blue up here, and this one took me 7 uses to pan on, and that is my final pan, which is pan number 52. So I am really, really excited because again I was able to hit my goal for the year, which is 50 pans. I'm definitely gonna way surpass that because we do have 3 months left of the year, but it's really exciting to see that happen so early on, and it also means that I don't have to worry so much on hitting pans because I already hit my goal when it comes to that. So I did, like I said, have 52 total pans, but I did hit 16 of those pans in the last quarter, which is actually exactly on par with my quarter 2. I also hit 16 pans in quarter 2, and then I hit 20 pans in the first quarter of the year. So basically on par with my last couple of quarters. I mean, the first quarter of the year I did hit a couple more, but 16 pans is really, really good in 3 months. So those were all of the pans. Let's move on to the eyeshadows that I finished. So this year I do also have a goal of eyeshadows that I want to finish. I do ideally want to finish 20 eyeshadows this year, which I don't reckon I'm going to do. I'm quite far away from that goal still. But at the end of quarter 2, I had 4 eyeshadows finished. So let's move on to the 5th eyeshadow that I finished this year, so I can show you which one that is. And actually I just realized I can't show you what that is because that is my MAC Omega eyeshadow, which I did finish up this past quarter, but that was repressed into a little pan, and I was working on that in my, I think in my deco panning project. But the original packaging I have actually already back to MAC, so I don't have that to share with you. So that is the first eyeshadow that I finished. I was working on that one for a long time as my eyebrow set powder, but since I started tracking it in my deco panning, it took me 32 uses to finish off, and that is the first one. The second eyeshadow that I finished is one from Wet n Wild, and that was a green shade that I was working on in my yellow product pan. And since I started working on it, it took me 57 uses to finish, and it is completely empty, as you can see. Again, with all of my tracking, I only count the uses when I was having them in project, so I of course had lots more use on this before. I already had pan on it when I rolled it in, but 57 tracked uses on this before finishing it up. Then for the third eyeshadow that I finished this quarter, we have this one here, which is one that I really recently finished up actually. This one is the shade like cream from the brand Isadora. This is the powder from a palette, so you can see there is called Isadora cream, and this one I was working on again in my yellow product pan, and this took me 91 uses to finish up, which is a long time, but it's one of those shades that you can use as a setting shade or like a blending out shade. I don't really set my eyeshadow primer, so I used it more as a blending out shade, and it worked really well for that. So yeah, this one is done. It's a bit sad because it was a really nice shade. It was really good quality as well, but obviously it's very exciting to have another shadow finished. Then the very final eyeshadow that I have finished this quarter, which is the fourth eyeshadow is actually it's a Stila Glitter and Glow. I did put it in this pan. Maybe I should have brought out the actual container too, but it is a Stila Glitter and Glow, and I kept this in my Colourpop Super Shock shadow container, and that is the shade Kitten Karma. I did finish this one up actually yesterday. You can see right there, it is completely finished, and I did use this one as a nail polish, but I couldn't last it for all of my nails, so I only have it as an accent nail on my ring fingers. So yeah, I did finish it up that way, and this one took me 23 uses in my Yellow and Pretty pan to finish. Granted though, I did work on it last year as well, and I have used it loads before, but I don't have those uses tracked, so 23 uses from this year alone in projects. So I did actually bring out the container. So this is actually the container as well with the Stila Glitter and Glow. Obviously there is like a tiny bit left in there, but yeah, it's nothing you can get out, and I already took out the stopper and script as much as I could out into the Colourpop container, so that is this one done. Very exciting, and again, that is my fourth eyeshadow finished this quarter. Let's sum up. Again, I had 4 finished eyeshadows at the end of quarter 2, and in this past month I did finish another 4, which brings me to a total of 8. Again, my goal for the year is to finish 20 eyeshadows, which I'm still quite far away from. However, I did in the last quarter finish up I basically doubled my finished eyeshadows. So I had 4 before this past quarter, and now I had another 4. So, you know, if I keep that up and I double it again, I would get to 16, which would be quite close. I guess that might be my goal, but that means I need to finish 8 more eyeshadows in the next quarter, which is going to be quite a feat. But we'll see how it goes. I feel like you always finish more eyeshadows at the end of the year, because obviously you've been working on eyeshadows like throughout the whole year, and it just takes you to the end of them to finish them up. But that is basically where I am with my eyeshadows finished and my pans hit so far this year. Again, I'm gonna probably take away some focus on like hitting so many pans. Obviously I am doing my pan as eyeshadows and my product level up, where I'm trying to hit pans, but maybe I will like slow down on them a little bit and try focusing more on finishing shadows, because I do really want to finish a couple more shadows this year. Ideally I want to get to at least 15. If I get to 15 I would feel accomplished, so maybe that will be my new goal. Obviously I will try to still reach 20, but I think that's very unlikely. But that is it for today, you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you're tracking too, how many pans you have hit so far this year and how many eyeshadows you have finished. And I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys!